Hey everyone, it's Gaivn Stevens, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Master Race Debaters. Each and every week, we are going to discuss racism, especially in Canada, because nobody thinks it's there. This week, as with every week, B Black is joining me, but also a special guest. Nick Durie is here for the whole entire episode. Nick Durie, very funny comedian who's been on my podcast many times. He's here again this week, and we're going to be talking about coddling white people. Should we do it? Also, we're going to be talking about what makes a good ally. Even though I hate that word ally, I can't think of a better word. What makes a good one? And in our white tier segment, should we be worried about white South Africans? They seem to be having problems right now. Anyway, without further ado, here we go into episode 5 of Master Race Debaters. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Nick Durie's here.
What's up, everyone?
And B Black, you're back. You're here every week. I was on Facebook, collecting my thoughts. It's a very relaxing place.
It's where you go to write. It's where you go to create.
It's a
lot of inspiration.
It's like one of those Zen gardens, with a rake. It's especially when it comes to race or gun control.
You know what I love about Facebook? Nuance. There's a lot of nuance.
There's a lot of everyone's really thought out. Yeah. Everything's thought out. Yeah. There's no cliches in Facebook. So I stumbled on this one, and I try not to comment on things, but we know about the shooting. Park Hill happened 2 weeks ago or a few weeks ago. This is going to air later, but Pete, we live in a time where people are like defending. Okay, I'll read the comment and then we'll talk about it. So this is Al Block Jr., which is okay. Often the school shooters have been found to be outcasts, the ones excluded, neglected, and bullied. For sure, none of them were popular kids. Those are in quotes. So I've got a suggestion for all those students walking out of school today in protest. How about walking right back in and befriending some of those students you leave at a recess and never sit with at lunch, those you laugh at and make snarky remarks about within earshot? Want to change the climate of your school? Then get your asses back in there and be nice to everyone.
You know what I love, too, about all of these issues is that there's always one solution.
Yeah.
The only solution is you need to be talking to these nerds.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's if only you popular people would talk to the nerds, no one's going to shoot up a school again. That's the only fucking solution.
At no point that is the nerd you're beyond bully when you start shooting people.
Right.
You're beyond it's like, oh, you kids that just suffered through a massacre. Why didn't you take care of this shit?
When you sent that to me, the first thing I thought of was that's someone from the NRA. That's literally the first thing I thought of.
Yeah. B, what did you like? I want to get that quote out of it and then talk about the what's behind that quote and what did you think of that quote?
I was while you were reading, I was thinking about how a friend of mine back in the days, actually a white dude, we bonded over the last time we had our heart broken, and we had a lot in common. I'm like, yeah, I did feel like burning down my school. Yeah, I did feel like kicking a puppy and shit like that.
Yeah.
But the point is, we didn't do it.
Exactly.
We wanted to do all these ugly things and shit like that, but we bonded up like, wow, he feels the same way I do. So for this guy to be like, hey, girls, stop breaking up with men.
Well, it's victim blaming, right? Like you're like
victim blaming.
It's like, oh, you just went through a massacre. Well, you know how you can stop these massacres if you played video games with those nerds.
It's
you know what I mean?
It's also an amazing white thing of like white people explaining other white people. Like imagine if all of these shooters were of another race, let's say brown or let's say black. And are we going to be sitting here talking about, well, if only we didn't talk, if only you would have talked to that nerd, that black person wouldn't have shot up a school. Are we really going to be talking about how people socialize this person if the shooters were black or brown?
It would have been, if it was a black person, if these were black kids, it would be Black Lives Matter. It'd be the terrorism of Black Lives Matter.
If only we paid that reparation check.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Wouldn't that be nice? We should have given them 40 acres and a mule, and they wouldn't have been shooting up this whole goddamn him. But this is the thing is what I want to get into is the coddling of white males because yes, a majority of these because I this is what I posted. Someone's like, oh, the majority of these shooters are like they have no dads or they're outcasts. I'm like, they're also white males,
right?
Yeah, they just busted another dude who was about to do some fucking shooting schools.
Yep,
a white male. They're all white male.
Yep.
They're all white male. So you if you're going to take in the feel good, let's discover who they are. You got to take in white male too, which changes the goddamn conversation, right? I don't know. That's the thing that frustrates me the fucking most is the justification of murder.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's and it's also like the you can even see them bringing in like minorities as a cause for it because like it's amazing. I don't know. You're old enough to remember this, B. I'm not sure about you, but you remember like. Early 90s,
he's our age.
He's our age. Okay, so you remember like Tipper Gore and all that stuff, like trying to ban rap music and trying to ban all this stuff, and the fact that they're using rap music and video games now, still 2018, like we've not progressed at all. That conservatives are just going to pull in black culture and like all these other types of things that are going to be the cause for white people behaving this way.
Yeah, we have video games.
I know.
We have guns. We're not sure. We have bullies. That's what I was arguing with someone is like, bullying is never going to end.
Yeah.
Like it's wishful thinking. This is my argument is you're saying they shouldn't protest gun culture or protest for gun laws because they should take care of bullying first. Bullying is never going to end. The weak is always going to pick on the poor. The strong is going to pick on the weak.
Yep.
And it not just with kids. That happens we have fucking kids making clothes in other countries. Like it's just in the culture to pick on weak things.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's right, but you can't get the government to make legislation against bullying.
No. It's not. It's not even just in our culture. It's in our biology.
It's in our
DNA.
biology.
Yes.
Yeah.
Literally Darwinism.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go.
No, go ahead.
No, all I was gonna say is when I read about how Obama authorized more drone strikes than any president before him.
Yeah, bro.
I'm like, well, your country's a Billy. What the? Even with Obama, good-looking guy, a kind person as he is, at the front, he's still running a country that bullies other countries.
Yeah, man. Fuck, it's imperialism. Fuck, dude. Like, I don't even think bullying is wrong to some extent. Like.
I've heard you advocate for bullying. I wasn't even trying to be funny. But I've heard you've had strong opinions.
I've done bits on it and stuff, and people don't laugh. It's just
how bullying's okay.
Well, I just think it sounds horrible, but that's how you keep your country strong. Maybe that sounds does that sound white nationalist to me? Kind of.
What? That bullying's okay?
No, that you need to. I look at it like viruses, right? Like you need to, like the flu. You have to face the flu virus. You have to be strong to get over it.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit out there that wants us killed, that wants us to die.
Yeah, man.
But we build what do you call that?
Immunity,
prevention methods for it. You know what I mean? That's why we have law enforcement.
And they're doing such a wonderful job.
Even they're bullies. Even some of these guys can be bullies.
But that's the thing too. Is like it's like the same argument when they we were talking about last week when they you were talking about how black kids have been protesting gun violence forever, and white kids do. It's like fucking look at these goddamn white kids.
Yep.
These precious little white angels. Yeah. Why is there? We have a white guy here, so it's like it's kind of it's poking and prodding. We can find out all these.
Let's go.
Why did you grow up feeling like there's a certain level of is it privilege? I hate the words the left use, but is it like a certain level of hey? Did you feel it? Did you notice that?
I grew up in such a white town, like small town Ontario, that it's almost impossible not to feel that. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just like you have no exposure to anything outside yourself.
But is it but do you feel it is it something that you would feel in context to say someone of color, or would you just be like, oh, this is just everyone's like this?
I don't know, man. I think that I have a weird relationship with it because I think I came from a pretty progressive family, but also I'm only second generation Canadian, right? My family's Italian.
Oh yeah.
And so we felt like other as well, even though I know Italian is just white. Like even B Black, we were talking about the spelling of my name. My name is actually, the original spelling is Duri. My grandfather added an E onto it when he moved to Ottawa in like the 1940s because he didn't people were racist against Italians then because of the wars and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He didn't want, he wanted to sound more Anglophone.
Yeah.
So we kind of grew up with that, where we became very Canadian as opposed to like we were very much of an assimilating.
It's very much an immigrant thing to fit in.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
for sure.
Most def. Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm answering your question. But is your question? Do I feel white privilege?
I don't want to sound like that. Like, cause that sounds too. It sounds like I'm trying to. Hey, it sounds like
like you're trying to get me.
Yeah, that's what it sounds
Gotcha,
like. And I really am curious to this. It has this. Is there a feeling to that? Is there like where you just, or is there no? It's just assumed that everyone has the same kind of. That's what I find.
You know what it's like? Here's an analogy. It's like, have you ever been to a gay bar?
Yep.
Or you walk around in like the gay neighborhood of a city or something, and you get checked out a lot, or like you just notice that there's men looking at you up and down.
Yeah.
And then you have that aha moment where you're like, oh, I know how women feel all the time.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's sort of what
that happened
like.
to me in San Francisco. Yeah.
That's sort of what it's like. So like I went to, when I was like 20, I worked in like Northern Ontario, and I mean like Northern Ontario.
Yeah.
And you go to these towns, and it's predominantly Native people and very, very few white people. And that was my gay bar, if that makes sense. That was the point where I walked into this town and I was like, holy shit, this must be what it feels like for minorities all the time.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like, is it something that you're aware of in context?
I'm aware of it in context, but then also then that makes me feel like, oh, well, I just grew up in privilege. If my only exposure, if my only capacity to empathize is to be in this really unique situation of being a minority, then that means I'm very sheltered as a white person. That I can sympathize, but I probably can't properly empathize, if that makes sense.
Hey, okay, I'm gonna try to answer your question, even though you adjusted to.
Black people included in this.
But it's more okay. So being in the comedy community, and especially around women, female comedians, and they express their reality. I started to realize how I've been coddled as a man.
Yeah.
Like a lot of what women do is to feed into our ego to make us feel great about ourselves.
Right.
So I can, as a man, I could feel like, oh wow, like there's a lot of like these ladies have been taking care of me, like even in the background. So I can only imagine as a white person the extra that you might get out of it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
I think I just wanted to like have that kind of base of an idea of what. And I guess you're right. As a man, like my wife always talks about, what is it when you're like the assumption of cleaning is put on a woman, where you're just like, not that you're like women should clean, but there's just an assumption that those type of duties are women's duties.
Yep.
Oh,
and that you just automatically go, okay, well, yeah. So it's it's there's more effort I find that you have to put into to be conscious and aware of that.
For sure.
Like what I understand of white privilege, I hate using the word. Like I really hate these words. There's nothing
because they're so buzzy, or
they're so buzzy, and they're just like and what they equate to. But but the idea of privilege, I guess, is like you could be more unconscious in your day to day. Like you can go about your day and be more on autopilot
because it doesn't affect me.
It doesn't
interrupt my day.
Right. And like for me, as a man, I can go on autopilot. As a black guy, I'm aware of everything.
Yep.
As a man, I can go autopilot. I don't have to worry about certain shit.
Yeah. If I had the threat of racism or something looming around every corner, then that must be what it feels like.
Yeah.
In a way.
I'm doing a bit when I'm like, white guys, you had it tough last year. And everybody else had it tougher, but you know the slightest pressure is tough.
Right.
Do you find that like not with you, but like with other whites? With the other whites?
What do you mean?
Like just that like Do you like on Facebook? You know, comics, especially younger dudes. I think older white people and older people are a little bit better with this kind of thing. But in general, I mean, that's very general speaking. But younger guys, where it's like the little bit of pressure, like the idea of like there's the whole Me Too movement and how angry guys are in those contexts. Sorry. How angry guys are because context, but how angry guys are because they feel that how am I supposed to date if these are the rules?
Do I feel that with white people? 100%. White people do that. I mean, whenever anything around Black Lives Matter or any of this stuff comes up, and white people chime in, I'm always just like, what are you doing? This isn't our time to talk. Like we have all the time to talk. And I'm not just even talking about Black Lives Matter. It's when anything like this. The loudest voices are white people.
So it's there's a you guys see yourselves a certain way, like we see ourselves. I sound like a fucking asshole.
No. But it's also like we have the most to lose, which is why we're the most offensive. And why we're the loudest, right? We have power. We have everything.
Yeah, and the slightest bit
slightest
is
little
too
bit
much.
that's going to erode that is too much for us to take, because all we've known is being the majority. All we've known is like allowing our voices to be heard and all of those types of things. You want to like chip away at it. It's like, no, that's our thing.
Yeah,
and I'm just talking about half of the people. I'm not talking about me because I don't.
Well,
think
it's like this. It's an idea that I don't understand how I like the Confederate flags, for example. I don't understand people put their identity into that.
Well, I mean, because you have no other way of identifying yourself.
Yeah. Are you gonna say something, B?
No, I just asked you can't imagine why people are able. Why I missed that point.
I don't understand how someone can put their identity in something like the Confederate flags, and like you live in Canada.
I remember I was driving actually outside of Ottawa in the Quebec side, and I passed a house that had a Confederate flag on the outside, and I was like, "What the fuck?
Yeah, what
you live in rural Quebec." You're Canadian, you're francophone, and you have a Confederate flag. You're just flat out racist. You're not even hiding it at this stage.
you're just
have a burning cross on your front lawn all the time.
Well, that's the other thing is like just come out front with your shit.
It's crazy.
Yeah, just if you're gonna be racist, be racist.
Yeah.
So my next thought is about why these people defend like the statement, like, hey, stop fighting. Is gun culture part of racism? Is it?
Sure, it is.
Yeah.
Do you not think it is?
Yeah, I do, but I also have that, like, when you're black and you live in North America, gaslighting is part of your life. So you might think some shit, but you got to rethink and question, and and especially someone like me, I'm very analytical. I go through stuff in my head over and over. I'm surprised there's not more crazy black people. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. There's actually a video about that. I was trying to find it for this episode, but it's a joke. And the idea is, okay, if what's the idea? Basically, is how come there are no black mass shooters? But also, it's also along the same idea of how come there are no women mass shooters. I mean, people who actually have a reason to be angry against society.
Well, there's serial killers.
There's
women serial killers. Those are black serial killers. There's black gangs. There's women. Like, there's women that do stuff. But you're right. How come there was no?
Like, you would think rationally that the reaction to oppression of black people would lead to someone losing their mind and shooting up a school.
But
no, it's just middle-class white kids.
Yeah.
Like, who live in the fucking suburbs.
Exactly. Like, remember those guys? Remember the guy that with his son, and they built that car and they were shooting people? Yeah. And everyone's trying to make it. Even the reporting of that story, they tried. Racism was put into it.
Yeah,
they're like, "Oh, he was having sex with his son," and he blah blah blah, and they try to make him not seem like he was a smart killer. He was a smart killer.
Yeah,
and not that I'm trying to hype him up or anything. It's so hard, but yeah. But for the most part, it's white dudes who are just like, "Hey," and you're allowed to walk around with guns,
right?
And then the idea that when you do shoot, statements like this, hey, he was a lonely boy.
Yep.
He was a lonely baby boy.
His parents, or he was a nerd, or he got picked on, or he listened to Marilyn Manson, or wherever the fuck it is.
What the fuck is that from?
Everything but race.
Yeah,
everything but race.
What the fuck
we don't
is
want
that
to talk about that.
Really?
We don't want to talk about it.
You don't want to say, hey, you guys are terrorists?
Nope.
That's fucked up.
Terrorists, we get to dehumanize terrorists, right? Because there's something other. They're brown skin or they're black skin or they're whatever. There's something else. And so if you watch even like the subtleties of, I remember seeing this movie. What's that movie? The Lone Survivor. It was like a Mark Wahlberg movie where they're like Navy SEALs and they're in Afghanistan and they get stuck and they all get killed. Sorry for the spoiler. It's a true story, whatever. It literally, the movie opens with showing them training as Navy SEAls, these like white all-American guys, and then flashes to the army they're going to fight in Afghanistan literally hacking things up, like literally hacking animals and hacking people, right? So it's just
animals.
They're animals. They here's all the technology we have. Look at these animals. That's the way we want to talk about.
Is that the purity of the United States? Like, like the United States needs to see a context of good and bad. Like, if you ever listen to Sam Harris?
Not really.
Sam Harris talks a lot about like Islam and he hates it. And him and Noam Chomsky had a debate. And Noam Chomsky's like, America's has the biggest, most blood on its hands. And Sam Harris's argument is that, yes, but you have to look at it in context. America did that with good intentions. And Chomsky's like, well,
who gives a shit?
Yeah, who gives a shit? The intentions,
If you're going to argue that, you're going to argue for, the Second Amendment and all of this shit too, which is just insane and without any nuance or context for like where we're at. They're going to take our guns. What the fuck are you talking about?
We talked about this last week about like you're defending yourself from a government that has $600 billion budget for military. Good luck with that with your AR-15.
You and your drone strike versus a drone strike. Good luck, buddy.
Yeah, good luck.
This is the first time though. Like this is the first time as a Canadian where I feel different as a white person. Like I feel better than Americans.
But we're not that. Why white people aren't that great here, and even black people.
I know that, but at least we're not at least I'm not a white American.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know
absolutely.
what I'm saying?
Absolutely, fuck no. It scares me down there now.
Yeah.
It scares the shit out of me.
Yep.
I drive down the south every once in a while. I go to Florida, and I'm terrified every time I go through. I was doing this joke about how my mom, and we get to the border. We're like 2 miles out. And my mom's like, "Hey, everyone, stop talking about Trump." Like they can't hear us.
The listening devices started a kilometer and a half before the border.
On the window, and those old people. Those 70-year-olds. Okay, everyone. Why do you have a beard for? You knew I had a beard getting into the car. Let's shave it off. Rip it out. Rip it out.
That's the thing. I mean, I was half joking, saying I'm better than American because we are atrocious here to Native people.
We're terrible.
It's so embarrassing. It's so bad.
Yeah,
and there's no getting around that. There's no and also you drive 4 hours north of here, and they would call us like liberal-minded Southerners. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, wow.
Like up north, they really dislike Native people up there, and they're openly racist.
Out west, you know how many times I'd come after a show and someone and be like, "Hey, fucking," or Vancouver, like a good native joke, and I'm like, "What the fuck?
Yep.
Who do you think I am?"
Exactly.
You got a good native joke. I know you got a good nigger joke too.
Yep.
I know how many good jokes you got. I don't. This is a depressing episode. I think I'm trying to make racism funny.
Okay, here.
Try to make it funny.
Can I we're talking about the topic of coddling white people.
Yeah.
I had a moment when I realized that, damn, I tend to coddle white people.
We all did.
Okay, so I'm in this restaurant. Actually, it was an Irish bar out of all places, right? And I'm getting something to eat. And on the menu, it says, by the way, I'm trying to make this into a bit. On the menu, they have jerk chicken on there. Now, if you know me,
I know this
love
restaurant.
jerk
It's in
chicken.
Ottawa. I know the one you're talking about.
What's that?
I know the restaurant. It's down by Absolute, isn't it?
No. This is on this place was on not in the market, downtown.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They just they just decided to have jerk chicken, right?
Yeah.
Now I remember walking in and seeing a black dude in the kitchen. So I assumed that he was the chef.
Yeah.
Shit like that. So I get in there, and if you know anything about me and jerk chicken, is I'm willing to tolerate bad service, bad customer service, all kinds of shit for jerk chicken. That's how much I love it, right?
We read your Wikipedia page, so we know about you and your jerk chicken. We know.
I get in there, and I order it. Bro, Of course, you know, my mistake. Worst jerk chicken ever. It was to the point that it was to the point that I thought the dude in the back was a Jamaican guy, and he found out I was Haitian because we have a rivalry, like the English and the French. You know what I mean? And he said, "Man, fuck them Haitian," and he spat in my jerk chicken and shit like that. So it was me and my cousin. I was like, Yo, it's on, man. Okay, we're gonna talk to the dude, and we're fucking him up because this shit was a crime against humanity, right? That's how bad it was. White dude shows up out of the kitchen, goes, "Hey, did you like the jerk chicken? It was my first try making it." I'm like, fuck. I could not keep it real with this dude, man. I was like, it wasn't that bad. I mean,
that's the most coddling white person thing I've ever heard.
Yo, exactly. I could not get myself to keep it real with this dude. Like when it was the black Jamaican guy, I'm like, yo, we're fucking this dude. Guy. I'm calling some homies. We're kicking this dude's ass.
Send him back.
But the white guy, I'm like,
Chad comes out of the kitchen. And you're like, oh, Chad, good try. Good
try. You know what I
mean? I love your impression of Chad too. Is, hey, what'd you think of the jerk chicken? He's so classic. How can you be mad at his baby face?
I'm a hypocrite, man. I felt like shit. I'm like, wow.
He burns in the sun.
What the fuck is my problem?
Nice.
He can't put down the sunroof on his Toyota Corolla.
Yeah, he's gonna get a sunburn, and like you gotta be nice to this guy.
Chad.
Yeah, you tried, Chad.
He's trying.
Chad, yo, he fucked that up, man. It was to the point that, wow, man.
Yeah, but what are you gonna say to
my
Chad?
Jamaican brothers, yo, man, these guys are disrespecting your cuisine, man. Oh. People like that, poor them in the sense that they can't get like, what's the word? Feedback, positive. Actual feedback.
Yeah.
It's all no. Yeah, you're a great singer. Yeah,
but they'll go through life like that. A lot of people will go through life like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then eventually something happens and the shoe drops.
Yeah. I mean, one of the most privileged thing I ever experienced was, and I do have a bit about this, but I won't do the bit. But I was flying. I was going through security, and I have one of those old-fashioned razors where you need the actual like blade. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And I know you're not allowed to fly with the blades.
No, you shouldn't.
But I still brought my razor because I was going to buy blades in the next town I was going to.
Yeah.
So the security guy saw it in the X-ray, saw that I had a razor, and he asked me, "Do you have a blade?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "No." And he said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yes." And he goes, "I trust you." And he let me go.
Wow.
Which is just the most amazing, like, that we're introducing trust into air safety travel. Is amazing. But then also, it's like, whenever I do that joke in front of a black person or a brown person, I'm like, yeah, that's what it's like to fly. They just look at you and trust you. And you're like, I could have a weapon, but you know what? I like the cut of your jib.
See, I don't mind you recognizing it. It's the white people who are like, yeah, and this happens to black people all the time. Where they just assume, yeah, that's what it's like.
Yeah.
Like you do that too, right? You go through that, and you're like, no, fuck, no, man. I remember I was flying from. I also get Islamophobia too because of my beard.
Right.
So
Nice.
So I get it all. I get when I go to Miami, they think I'm gonna. I remember returning a car at the whatever the rental place, and a fucking Cuban dude threw me a rag. Clean out the back seat. So I get it all. I get all the bad shit. I get no good shit. So I was I remember I'm flying home from Halifax, and it's a huge lineup, and they pick me out of everyone.
Of course.
But they do it like it's like you with the beard who looks like Osama bin Laden, just randomly. And so they pick me for the random like check, and I'm just motherfucker. Of course you are.
You're carrying lobsters. So you bring lobster back from Halifax
with dynamite attached to the lobster. Sticks of dynamite. So if you guys don't meet my needs, these lobsters are gonna go up. So yeah, that's enough space. Yeah, that's good. I usually blend these in too, and then we start talking. So I'll edit it, whatever. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about the how to handle. I hate using these fucking words, but they're so easy. How to be a good ally but I hate using that. But how to when you're dealing with you go to. We all had it. You go to you have your family dinner, or you go to some. One of those things, and that uncle's there, and they're saying some horse shit. What do you do? Do you should you say some shit? Like, and how do you say some shit? And yeah.
Have you been in that position before?
Yeah, I have. And I think I've many a time Sally didn't say anything. So which is why I try to say something.
Would you say racial shit or homophobic shit?
No, racial shit. I haven't. I don't have a lot of homophobes around me. Okay. Yeah, but more racial shit. I had sexism too. Like my dad was talking about Cosby, and he's like, I don't know if I'm like, Dad, stop it. 50 women,
right?
But but I also get where he's a black man. He comes from the time where fucking Emmett Till. Yeah, it was So I get where. But come on, dude, 50 women. Stop it. I don't know. But it's more that I like mine was the one that I joke about all the time was being out west, wanting to play the Arkham Asylum game, showing up at a dude's house and he had a giant Confederate flag on the wall. Right. I didn't say anything because I wanted to play Arkham Asylum. So
I'd never played it before.
Yeah, I never. So that burden of having to deal with it. A woman or an ethnic person having to deal with that. People are saying now that should be shifted to quote unquote allies.
So who are the allies, though? Right. This is where it gets complicated.
People with privilege, people with power. So if it was a woman dealing with that kind of stuff, it's men that have to step up and go, "Hey, shut the fuck up."
Right.
Yeah.
I got one. Shit, I'm worried. So I'm just gonna say I was at a random barbershop. Okay, random. It was a long time ago, so I want to be clear. A long time ago.
Yeah.
And I remember I asked the dudes question. We were all dudes, and I said, if you knew a guy was beating his girl, would you do something about it? And most dudes said, "Yo, fuck that. No, I'm minding my own business." And even I didn't jump in to say, "Hey, that's fucked up, fellas. We got to step it up." But the rules are not the rules, but it's, I guess you automatically take the guy's side and assume that, oh well, if he's hitting her, then
she must have done something.
There's gotta be a reason that's outside. Oh, well, regardless, it's none of your business. But I guess I remember hearing someone, things men can do to, help women out. Call out your, abusive friends and shit like that. But I just, like that moment, I just realized it's like, wow, there's no hope for sexism with that shit, with that kind of
Well, you also lose a lot of friends, right? Like you start calling people out for shit, you start losing people.
I remember I was at work once, not the place I work at now. This is like 3 places ago. And this is probably like 12 years ago. Yeah. And I'm in the bathroom taking a leak. And the VP of the company comes in and goes, "Oh, there's the luckiest guy in the company." And I was just like, "One, don't talk to me when I'm taking the leak."
Yeah,
first
seriously.
And then I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "Oh, you're a young guy and you get to run around with all this young pussy here in this office." This is a VP of a fucking company.
Why do people put that shit on people?
It's insane.
Yes.
It was one of the worst things I've ever heard. It's like, how the fuck do you expect me to respond to that? And what, now am I supposed to lecture the VP of my company and be like, file an HR complaint and like all this kind of stuff?
I guess you're supposed to.
I guess I'm supposed to. I think it's really comes down to what's easy and what's hard, right? And be like your story. It's like it's hard to stand up probably in a barbershop and be like, "No, that's wrong. You should step in. You should blah blah blah." Not let your friend hit their wife. But it's easier to just be like, "Okay, yeah, I guess I am running around with all this young pussy around." Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Or because that's an expected laugh too.
Yeah.
But then, then you think about, okay, well, what about the woman that's being harassed?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, as hard as it is, as much pressure as it is to go, "Hey, dude, that's not cool."
Yeah, exactly.
Or just to hey, let me go say something to somebody about that. I had that at a job I was doing, and this is recent, where this dude, our foreman was hitting on women, and it's like, I didn't know what to do. Yeah. I felt powerless. And then I couldn't imagine how she felt. And I was just like, this is fucked up.
Right.
It blew my mind. It didn't blow her mind.
Yeah.
Because she worked in a factory, and that shit's just common as hell.
Right.
But I was just like, it blew my fucking mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that even goes back to the last segment of what we're talking about with white people not wanting to have that conversation with ourselves because it's too uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's the same feeling. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sorry. You were saying?
No, it's amazing. On the positive side, the younger generation, I'm used to younger people would have saying something. Yo, dude, that's fucked up. Like actually voicing their opinions. Shit that I would have been too quiet too timid to say or bring up. Like for me, I'm used to seeing younger folks stepping in where I should have stepped in.
Yeah.
I there's an article on CBC.ca that talks about how to talk to people at dinner. First of all, is pick your moment.
Right.
You got to figure out when you want to have this conversation. Which is there a moment like wouldn't you say it when they say it?
Yeah.
Or do you just wait around and wait till?
Well, then I mean, because I think that because I read that too, and it just was like, don't react emotionally to it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, so the way I read, I'll go through the rest of them, but the way I read it, it felt like yes, like you said, is you have to be above it.
Yeah,
you got to be smarter. But then, aren't you pissing them off with your condescension?
Exactly.
Prepare yourself. They've probably said this before, so you know what to expect, and you can do some research. Hang on a second, sorry. You do some research and some learning and come at it from an informed place. The next one's focus on the behavior and not the person.
That's it.
Yeah.
That is really fucking difficult. I remember hearing Chris Rock say the same thing too, that he used to do when he did his show, when they would do stuff against white people. It was like focus on their, not who they are, focus on what they... Yeah.
Well, that's what Mo and I... the episode is going out tonight, but
last week's episode.
Yeah. Well, this will be a few weeks episode.
Right, sorry.
So a few weeks ago, Mo and I talked about this, and he made the point of it's not the person. Like when you're talking about racism, to look at it as not the person, but their action.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that kind of diffuses things.
That's really difficult to do.
Yeah, it's
That's
very
not easy.
It is not because you're angry or you're hurt or you're upset or you're mad or whatever, and then you're like, oh, you said some shit.
And it's easy to just go, you're a racist, you're a bad person, that's it.
Right.
Now I've judged you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I see. I like to walk into these conversations like I walk into Facebook. I like to go, dismantle your logic, and then watch them get upset. I like to make them upset as opposed to like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But that's just me being a sadistic human being. Yeah. That's just me. Like, I like
now,
to
do you
people.
feel okay? So, like, we're talking about. I think it's really the theme is really responsibility and what degree of responsibility we have to do these things. So, do you feel when you go on Facebook and you see someone being subtly racist or maybe not so subtly racist, do you feel the need to try to educate them, or are you just interested in taking them down?
You don't understand how much I avoid.
Yeah. No.
I
just stay away from. But sorry.
No, I was going to say, what is my responsibility towards stupid people?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I don't care if they learn anything.
Right.
I'm like you, dude. I don't care if they learn. I just kind of want to show them that they're stupid. I'm past the point, like we talked about coddling in the first segment. I'm past the point. I just think, especially with racism, I think white people need a healthy dose of honesty.
Yep.
And a healthy dose of, hey, I live in a different reality than you. I think you're crazy, and I'm tired of conforming to your needs to make you feel comfortable around me.
Yep.
So I'm just gonna be honest with you. I think you're full of shit.
Yep.
And I don't hate people who say some racist shit, but some of the shit is just so cliched and backwards.
It is. You have to also understand too. This isn't white splaining or whatever, but like we can only kind of sympathize. We can never empathize.
No, that makes sense. How could you know what that's like? Although you do think you know what it's
we
like. We
think we know, which is where the sympathy
Yeah.
comes in, and we confuse it for empathy.
Well,
but it's not.
I just
it's
reading
not
a
accurate.
statistic that American white people think. Do you want some more water?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
They think that that racism affects them more than black people.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we live in different realities. This is a proof that we live in a multi-universe. That's crazy. That's insane to me.
Yeah.
That's coddling like a motherfucker.
Yeah, it's cognitive dissonance like a motherfucker.
No, that's a coddling.
Coddling.
Like
I think it's cognitive.
Oh,
it's
poor you. Yeah, you're a victim of racism too. Jesus.
Here's the other one. Here's the coddling part of it. Be prepared to talk to. Be understanding. You're talking to a relative, I guess, and they're like, be understanding. Motherfucker, I don't want to be understanding.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, I've been dying for this one in. So I used to get mad at my white friends who would tell me stories about their like they'll tell me a story, it's a joke, but in that story they have to tell them about their racist uncle and what they said at the dinner table. Yeah, my uncle's talking about how he had to shoot some nigger and stuff like that. You know, I'm like, what the fuck, asshole?
They're so matter of fact.
But the thing is, and here's the worst part is, so I'm thinking that when I'm at my dinner table with my relatives and they say some homophobic shit or some sexist shit or some fucked up shit or whatever, right? And I go quiet on them, and it's made me more sympathetic to those same white friends who didn't cut off their racist uncle from saying or doing some racist shit.
See, I go the opposite way than you do.
What's that?
I go the opposite. I go, okay, I don't like that feeling of someone not saying shit. I'm going to say some shit.
Right.
Okay, yeah. I'm a bitch. Yeah, I'm like, you know what? I understand my racist.
I'm so glad
my
you
friend
got
with
that
the
point
racist
that I
uncle
was
now.
trying to make. I'm so glad you got that. I didn't want to say it. I wanted you to realize it.
Like, why didn't you say anything? Oh, now I get it. Yeah. Okay. Why didn't you fucking do anything? Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's age on my end, but I just like, fuck it. I can't take some stupid shit in my life.
No.
I just can't take. I think I've settled myself into like a long, lonely life, like just a nice by myself life, and I'm good with that. And so I'm like, let's burn every bridge that I can. All bridges are made of twigs and popsicle sticks. And I'm just gonna light them all on fire. I've sat there where people said some shit. You ever get like some racist shit or something? I don't know. And then you're just like, oh, that just happened? You don't even know how to react?
Yeah.
You're just
yeah.
I wish I had a team of writers.
I'm grateful for the white friends who step in at that point. Like, someone says something race so fucked up that did that just really happen? And they'll just step in and be like, sorry, no, I'll talk to them. I'm sorry. You didn't need to hear that.
I'll deal with this. Yeah, those are good people.
Shout out to them.
I've been in many situations in this city where no one stepped in.
Yeah,
like you're just someone said some shit, something went down, and you're like, and I'm a man, so I'm fine. But I couldn't imagine like a woman being there and just like,
right.
I remember one time. This is when I was like new to comedy, and we were at the terrible Kaylee house, and I was hosting. And someone in the audience, who's actually an audience member, said the N-word.
Yeah.
And I had to go up and be like, all right, guys, well, if we could not, like, say those words, maybe we could just not, you know. And because I'm trying to play host. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not. And I like just remember teacher. Gavin's reaction. You were just like, you were upset.
Yeah.
But you were mostly like, you fucking idiot. You don't go up there and say, hey guys, if we
I didn't call you an idiot.
No,
but it was just like it was funny. But it was also like, you know, you know what I was more upset about? That we as comics make these people feel comfortable, like, and not just racist people, but people who just yell out shit and talk. And in Hamilton, they're so desperate for an audience. Yeah. You have to be lighting the place on fire before they go, you know what? Maybe we should maybe we should kick these people out.
Exactly.
They just so desperate, and that's the problem. Is it's not their comfort of just abuse is fine. I don't mind.
No,
I'll deal with abuse as long as I can make you smile. They don't give a fuck. No. It's such low self-esteem. Yeah. So that's what we dealt with.
Yep.
And then. Yeah, I don't know. I think of women in those situations where you're by yourself and some motherfucker says some shit, and then people just kind of slowly back. I also get people blaming me for the person saying some shit.
Oh,
yeah. It's like, well, if you didn't do this, then that wouldn't have happened. And you're like, a motherfucker.
You know what I mean? That racist event only happened because you showed up.
That's what happened. You know, if you just kept your mouth shut. If you just held this lantern in front of our house like you're supposed to in your jockey outfit, none of this would have happened. You brought this on yourself. Hold the lantern. Shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up.
Oh, fuck. Racism's fun.
It's good.
It is. It is.
You're working towards living a selfish life on your own.
I live in Hamilton next to a pot dispensary. What do you want me to do?
That's true.
I don't leave my house. No. I just got to board it all up. It's like Night of the Living Dead. The last one was help them learn. that was the last way to deal with these is help them
learn.
It's like so you gotta have a TED talk with your uncle at the breakfast who's like he's like what like 60, 70 years old.
You got to be empathetic as shit. You got to let them say shit. You got to not respond emotionally. Yeah. Now you've got to educate.
He's like, you fucking queer. What the fuck? And he's yelling at you. And you got to be like, no, Uncle Jack.
I see your point.
You make a valid argument. It's CDC, by the way. So of course they're saying that. Yeah. I don't know. I'm a proponent to cutting people out of your life.
Yep.
And nice.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh, toxic people. Yeah, I don't know. My toxic relatives that they get put on the back burner.
Man.
But when you show up to the Christmas Christmas dinner and all that, you're doing a lot of tolerating. You're actually there's one thing that I learned is that sometimes it's not the person who says the right things who does the right thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes it's not. Sometimes the person who like talks outlandish, says some fucked up shit, ends up being the one who, like hears about a domestic violence case and actually jumps in and say, "Hey,
yeah,
the
person you least expect."
Exactly. Hey, man, hitting bitches is wrong. You know what I mean? He's the dude who'll be like, "Oh wow,
hitting bitches is wrong." That's his album too. He
wasn't
really trying to stop the thing. He was just trying to promote his album. Hitting bitches is wrong.
That's what I take that into factor. It's like, okay, you're not saying the right things, but I can count on you to have my back at 3 a.m. in the morning when my car's not. It's shit like, I guess it's I balance these things out.
No, I'm with you on that. I'm also, that's the other thing is like, what if the person that doesn't like say the right words, but in their heart they're genuine people?
They're genuinely people.
Do you stomp down on them?
Yep.
Like, do you go, oh, well, they're not called trannies anymore? No, but I think they're great people, these trannies. And you're like, but, Jack, Uncle Jack, you can't say trannies. Like, are you supposed to do that?
Yeah.
You are?
No, I don't think so. I just also think it's to get on any type of soapbox and lecture people is always such a dangerous thing because then you just, again, you turn the mirror back on yourself and you've got, like, someone could then come to your next show and see a joke about abortion and think you're a terrible person, you shouldn't be doing that, and someone's going to start lecturing you about what you can and can't do.
It's the
on
Me
stage.
Too movement thing you talked about. It's like looking back in my past and what dirt do I? That's why I like to keep my mouth shut. I mean, I do argue about asinine shit on thing, but I never try to tell people how to live.
Yeah.
Or out people like that shit. That's none of my business.
I'm worried about my own problems.
Right. Exactly. But at the same time, is this kind of like that? Is this calling someone out kind of the same?
I think so. It seems like
it. So then...
I don't know. I don't know what the solution is.
Yeah.
Other than control what you can control.
Yeah.
I guess. Bang. I mean, that sounds like...
Message.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was deep.
That's you Ottawa people. Because you're also at dinner and your mom's like, I don't want anything. I just want to get through this.
Yep.
And you sometimes you got to shut your mouth for your mom.
Yep.
Hey, I hope you guys are enjoying this episode. If you are, do me a favor. Go to iTunes right now. Leave a comment. Leave a rating. It'll help us out so much. Hey, also, if you want to follow us on social media, that'd be great. You can follow us on Twitter at MRD Podcast, on Facebook at Master Race Debaters, and on Instagram at MRD Podcast. We're also on YouTube. If you got comments and suggestions or just want to drop us and say, hey, fuck you guys, you can email us at masterrdpodcast@gmail.com. Yes, we'll take your emails. We'll respond. Trust me. We got nothing better to do. Anyway, here we go. Without further ado, me and B Black getting back into it. Do you guys want to talk about this white tears thing?
Can I tell you this? I am so uncomfortable having this conversation. And that's what this woman said before this, because I know what's in my heart. And I know that I don't think anyone is different, better, or worse based on the color of their skin. But I feel like there is nothing any of us can say right now without being judged.
Yeah, so apparently, not Lauren Southern, she's the rebel. She's like Canada's Tommy Lahren. Mm-hmm. And she has a documentary out. Yeah, she is. She has a documentary out right now about white South Africans suffering, and they're saying that they put together a petition to try and have Trump bring them as refugees into America, and they're complaining about being murdered by black people, and
they're claiming that they're the targets of murder, that they're the most murdered people right now, which is false.
And their land's being taken away. Well, their land is being taken away. They're trying to get their land taken away. But the problem is, if you look at it closer, I think it's since apartheid ended, whites own 85% of the best land.
Yep.
And now they own 75%. So it hasn't dropped much.
Yep.
So they're saying, hey, we got to fucking distribute this land to other people. You got to give it to some of these black people that need some land. This is their country. And so white people are freaking out. To me, it looks like a mediocre white person situation where it's like, yeah, you know what? Some of you are poor.
Yeah.
Some of you are going to have to do shit. No. And with regards to the murdering thing, the BBC did a study. And apparently there was they couldn't find any racial aspect to it. The people are dying on farms, but that includes all races in all sorts of different types of ways. So it's like people dying on farms.
Right. They're not being targeted for this reason.
No. Or being raped, as they said. I'm being raped out here.
Yeah.
No, you're not, white people. I went to South Africa, man, and predominantly black people are fucking poor. That are the poor people living in shanty towns are black people. I didn't see a lot of white people like that.
Yep.
There is a serious class system.
Yep.
It's blacks and then what they call coloreds, which is like people like me who are mixed.
Yep.
And then white people.
Yep.
That's that. I was there about 10 years ago, so that's what I saw.
Yeah.
But now I guess they're being displaced and they're upset. Do you guys feel sorry?
No.
You know.
God no.
So when there's a meme about this is I think they're called the white South Africans. They're called Afrikaners.
Yeah, Afrikaans.
Afrikaans,
which is in itself is bullshit. Like you can't call yourself African.
No, you're from Holland.
Yeah, exactly. No, we were Afrikaans. We're Afrikaans.
But I like how all of a sudden now 2018 they're all like, "Yo, black people, we need to unite."
Exactly. Oh, they're fucking with us. Oh, really? Do you remember apartheid? Remember?
I think.
You know what I mean?
I think from.
But they're all that. Yo, we need to stick. Africa unite. Like the Bob Marley song.
I think for me the split second that any sympathy or feeling bad went away was when they were going to petition Trump.
Yeah.
Like, that's our answer.
Yeah.
If, like, your immediate answer is they're taking away our land, Trump, let us into your country. We're white. We're capable.
Yep.
We know you want us. Like, you basically just said you want us because we're not from a shithole country. So,
but we're not the shithole people you're talking
So your
about.
solution is Trump? Fuck you guys. I
love how like everyone. Okay, so everyone of color knows Trump's being racist. The media is like, but are we sure?
Yeah.
And then white people know that. Like white people and people of color know Trump's racist.
Yep.
The white people that like them, like
Yeah.
white people who like racist white people. Love Trump because he's speaking to them. They know he's racist. We know he's racist. But the media's like, but we're not. Can we really call him a racist?
I had a comic ask me that. You don't think Trump is a racist?
Who said that to you?
Fuck.
Come on. I need to avoid that person.
I'm just saying. But you know what? I got a confession to make. Part of me kind of wants Trump to be like, you know what? We're closing the door in Somalia, the Middle East. Let these, let these South African refugees come into the country.
How come?
Only because I want him to fucking finally pick a side, man. Fuck this gray area where he can say that I'm not racist. No. Now it's official. I mean, I'm looking out for my people.
I think you just convinced me to your side.
What's that?
I think you convinced me to be on your side. I agree with you on that one.
It's just finally all right now. Okay, now we know who's on what side. We know who's who in
but haven't we already been
in
down
this world?
road,
but yeah, man.
Have we?
Haven't we already been with him? Like when he said there's good people on both sides.
Yeah, but this is action.
Yeah.
This is like
I see what you're saying.
Definitive proof.
I see.
But he's not going to bring in these white people. These white people are poor.
Yeah.
They're dirt poor.
Hey,
Those aren't white
whoever
people.
made that petition, letting South Africans in, also probably added, okay, but we need to sort by hot chicks. Hot chicks first. then
they do it.
Then dudes who can work, who can who can work as bodyguards by usefulness, basically.
And they sort them like a 3-on-3 pickup game too. Like there's a line, you get them, you go there,
There's a pageant too. With there's a bikini section, there's a talent
for you to get refugee status in the States.
Yeah, you wear a satchel.
You know what I love is she's making this. Tommy Laren's making this documentary. She's got a camera crew and everything making this like it's sad. And then like right beside her is like there must be like a UNICEF camera crew. Like, she's like, what the fuck? And then like one of those, come on, yeah. It's like you're taking away the only thing some of these people have. In camera crews, and you are poor white people. Like, do your own shit, white people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, what would be a good a good song to play in the background for to gather sympathy of other white people? I don't know.
It has to be something from what's her name, Tori Amos, right? Tori Amos. Something sad.
I was going to go with November Rain by Guns N' Roses.
There's a
slow motion. Slow motion.
Black and white.
Playing piano in the rain.
Yeah, I think yours is better. I'm going to go with yours. Yeah, it's not, these people don't even give a fuck about these white South Africans.
No.
What they're doing is just like, see, my point's right.
Another example. They're taking over. This is all coming full circle.
What is the goal of that?
It's going to get really bad.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking now. Before 2042, it's going to get really fucking bad.
I'm just waiting. I agree with you. I'm just waiting. When do we become Star Trek? When do we become like where no one gives a fuck about your race and shit, and we're all slaves? Like we're all we fit in leotards, right? We fit in one piece. When does that happen?
Those goddamn Klingons, man.
Diabetes is going up. Obesity is going up. So when are we going to be Star Trek? It's not going to happen. That's how you know how bad shit is.
Yeah.
We're so far from Star Trek.
We're very far from Star Trek.
Fucking far as shit from Star Trek.
I think an alien race has to show up and do the same thing the Europeans did to the Native Americans and to the Africans. And then at that point, me and Jetro will be, okay, fuck it. Let's set our differences aside.
How do you know someone from Jethro living in Canada?
I went with Jethro. I'm going with a redneck name.
Oh, it's a good one. As soon as you said it, I thought of that dude on Yeehaw that had the Texas guitar. Do you remember what was his name? I don't know, but you know the guy. Yeah, Waylon. It's Waylon. You could use a Waylon. Waylon would have been a good one. Or Colt. Me and Colt. Yeah, that's what. So it's just they're just trying to prove it. Like, hey, white people were under attack.
Another example of
So that article that you got us to read. If you look at the video, it makes it look like white people are under attack. But when you read the whole thing, you get to the end. What's the person said? Hey, look. What's the title he used? He says, "I'll be peaceful." But he says, "South Africa belongs to everyone that lives in it." Lines like that. That's in. It's like, look, we're just trying to make shit fair. Yeah. We're not trying to.
The woman said
rip
that.
people off.
There's a quote from the woman. She said, like, South Africa, everyone. It's for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a previously stolen land. We're trying to redistribute that shit to.
Exactly. You had a hand
equally,
up,
but that's
You got a hand up because of stolen land, and you're like, hey, but. You white people, no offense, you guys hate history.
We really do.
You really hate fucking. Really that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's the Me Too.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's looking back. Oh fuck! And it's just down. It's not that far.
No.
It's like 20 years ago.
No, we can literally use our memory.
It's not far at all. You're like, fuck.
Yeah.
But this is kind of I don't know if this has happened in history before, but in a way, like going on my research about white people. White people are in a uncharted territory in that like I'm looking at because I was looking someone posted like a slave auction that passed on that was that used to exist back in the days, and I was looking at it, I'm like, how do you come back from that? How do you restore? Like right now, North Americans are using denial, like slavery never happened, but at some point, the shit that's happening in South Africa. Where what would they say? They said the white minority rule came to an end in South Africa. So now they gotta the regular human beings like everyone. They gotta be dealt with like everyone else, and that's fucking with their mind when they're so used to wait a minute, we got to play by the rules now. Wait, what the fuck?
Is it a casting off of like certain is it classism that's like, hey, we need to cast off some of you.
For sure it is.
We need to get rid of some of you.
It's like we wrote all the history books and then forgot how to read.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like we got to write them and then now we just can't even read them. We've got dyslexia and Everything's just jumbled.
Well, that's why this is a video and not something to read. Exactly. We read an article about the video. That's all video. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. It's like, it's just deniability. It's like, oh, I benefited from this, but I don't even want to be told that I benefit from it. I don't believe that exists.
Right. No.
But motherfucker,
I was going to say, Germany after the war, they got forced by the international community to do right.
Yeah.
In this case, it's like, I mean, sure, I got the stolen money, but I ain't giving it back. Fuck that.
Exactly.
Diamonds and shit like that. The nerve of white South Africans to complain.
It's insane.
It's insane.
That's why I like, what's that comedian from Australia there?
No,
from South Africa. No, from Australia. Jim Jeffries. When he talks about South Africans, yeah, but at least I ain't a racist piece of shit like you guys.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, it's a beautiful country. It's an amazing what they did with it. If the whites didn't show up, come on. Thank God. That is an argument though with like the alt-right. If they didn't, I've seen people say, but if we didn't kidnap you and force you to work for free.
Think
how bad you wouldn't have Wi-Fi. You
wouldn't
have Wi-Fi. You like your Wi-Fi, don't you? You're welcome. You're welcome.
You'd be worshiping a tree right now.
That's the other thing is when like fucking mediocre average white people take their discoveries of like famous white people like they did it too.
Yeah.
We did that. Look what we did. We gave you this. But no, what did you do? I work at Payless. I work at Payless Shoes. I put old women's feet in the shoe. But you're welcome for brain surgery. Fucking. I know. God, your people
terrible.
are crazy.
We're terrible.
Our people are crazy too. Everyone's people are crazy.
Yeah, we're just crazy in power.
Yeah, there's a crazy like just, hey, let's wipe out all these indigenous people in New Zealand and just write that they disappeared.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly.
They just left.
They left on their own accord.
One day they all left.
Yep.
I don't know. Someone said something. Maybe we're not sure. I think Jim didn't take his shoes off when he went in their house.
No, Jim, you should have known better.
Come on. You embarrassed a lot of us,
James.
Yeah, I don't know. It's and then to complain like apartheid ended in my lifetime.
Yeah,
like I was, and to be that short-minded to even have the balls to say, "Hey, what the fuck?
Yeah, I know.
What the fuck?"
We can remember when Mandela was in jail.
I was reading about this is I was just watching a video about Freddie Gray. And Freddie Gray he was in Baltimore. He was murdered for having a pocket knife. They pulled him over. He was in they arrested him. By the time he got to the precinct, he was in a coma. He had a fractured spine and he died, and also a fractured skull. Freddie Gray had lead poisoning. He was he won a court case from the government because he has lead poisoning. Lead poisoning. They said that based on the statistics with lead poisoning, most people drop out of school and commit crimes and blah 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 because you have brain damage. Yep. So here's how this is what people don't see. All they see is a black man got arrested because he had a pocket knife. Why is he walking around with a pocket knife? This is what they don't see. He had lead poisoning. The people, the lawyers came to him and his sister who had lead poisoning too. They got his because he was getting paid out monthly. They got his. They stole like $500,000 from him and his sister by paying them a lower price. Remember, you're dealing with someone with brain damage.
Yeah.
Right. So they paid. They paid like $54,000 and they got like $500,000.
Jesus.
So they gave them a lump sum. But then you have to look at redlining and all that stuff. So redlining, what this video showed was they put a map up with redlining and lead paint. Because lead paint was outlawed in like 1975.
Yeah.
But if you look at where he lived, it was predominantly in black neighborhoods. Now redlining was like black people couldn't get a loan, so you were forced in certain areas. And what would they would do with some of these predatory lending places? Yep. What they would do is what they would do with white people is threaten that black people move in their neighborhood and then buy up their like blocks of land for cheap.
Yeah,
and because white people take the fuck out of there, and then what they would do is they give these high interest rate loans to black people to buy houses. This is after redlining when you weren't allowed to. You came back, people got loans for free to buy houses.
Yes.
Excuse me. So, but this is after. So they got these loans, high interest rates, but they were so expensive. If you and the rule was if you miss like a month, they take your house away. Your house is gone.
Wow.
So when you see the dilapidation of some of these houses, it's because they couldn't afford. They had to put all their money into into paying their mortgage.
Yeah.
And so what you see is these people living in lead paint houses from fucking systemic racism.
Yep, exactly.
And then what you see is in, 2014, 2015, Freddie Gray being murdered because of something that happened in the 60s, in the 50s.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so fucked
It's
up.
insane. I can't imagine. This is where I can't empathize.
Yeah.
I can only sympathize, but I can't imagine what that's like.
But that's the level of not having the conversation because it's easier to go as hey, look how these white people are suffering in South Africa.
Yeah.
But you don't go back and look at exactly how things happen.
No.
It's easy to say, oh well, the Sir John A. Macdonald statue should stay up there, but you don't go back. This is what people don't understand. Like I look at Colton Bushi and how he was murdered, or how they were talking about Tina Fontaine. And how they're like, oh, she was on drugs. You don't understand how the culture of Native people being worthless to our society goes back to the foundation of this country.
Yep.
It was built on starving Native people.
Yep.
The Native Act was like Sir John A. Macdonald's an evil motherfucker. And when people go, oh, that's just how history was. No, he was a piece of shit. They built a country on killing Native people, or you assimilate, will kidnap your kids. You weren't worth shit.
No.
Your culture is not worth shit.
You're lower than human.
You're lower than human. And it hasn't changed. And so when you see Colton Bushi and people justifying a kid being murdered, it's
you can draw a straight line.
But here's what this is what bothers me. Why don't they call it white supremacy? Why can't I call it white supremacy? Because that's what it is.
It is, yeah.
That's what it is. It is. You can't. It's white people who think they're better.
Because we've redefined what white supremacy is.
Yeah,
it's people with hoods.
It's hoods and
burning,
Nazis,
right? It's crazy people. It's evil,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
white
yeah,
supremacy
yeah,
is
yeah.
evil,
Right.
So it can't be inherently a part of us.
That's what they talk this stuff, and you can't, or they live in this history and they benefit from this history and they continue to and they enjoy benefiting from it.
Yep.
But I can't say, well, that's white supremacy. I'm evil for saying it's white supremacy. I'm reactionary.
Yeah.
But it's not.
No.
So a friend of mine, atheist friend of mine, we were just talking about the Bible, right? Because I grew up as religious, and he shared his take about the concept of Noah's Ark, and we were talking about the story of Noah and how God decided to flood the earth with all the people in there, and he looks at me, he goes, dude, so God committed genocide? And for me, I was like, that's not genocide.
That's fucking brilliant.
Not when God does it. But for me, as growing up as a Christian, that was normal. But when you step back, like he was right, when you step back, technically that's an act of genocide.
Yeah, it is an act of genocide.
But it was acceptable because, the dude from the Bible told me, or the Bible guy told me it was acceptable. Like, I grew up like that was a normal story for me. So, but it was hard to see it as, it took me a while before I could, wow, he's right.
Yeah.
So I guess for John A. Macdonald doing what he did, they don't look at him as the crimes he committed against humanity. No, he was the founder. He was our first prime minister. Like, that's all. Yeah, they know him as like
the good, because all the bad outweighs it because he created the country. I'm
exactly.
Like, right.
Yeah, but that's easy to say when that's not you.
Of course.
When you're still
when it's not you, exactly. Yeah.
And it's not. And the thing is, it's not like it went away.
No.
It's not like it. Okay, well then I was just reading a comment. Everyone's like, they agree that racism exists in the 60s and the civil rights. Everyone agree, but when did it end?
Right.
When did it? When did it end?
Yeah.
No one can tell you when it ended.
No.
But they agree it existed.
Or slavery happened, but the results, the what it caused. No, we don't want to talk about that. No, fuck that. No. We'll just talk about the Underground Railroads and Kunta Kinte, shit like that. But yeah,
this is how literally naive people are. Is that And I'm not sure if this was this experience for black people, but for white people, we literally thought racism was done when Barack got elected. That was it. It's just it's done.
That's why Jordan Peele made Get Out.
Right?
Yeah,
it's just like, we're good. Yeah. Everything's fine now. That's how naive we are.
Yeah.
No. I remember hearing that and going, I don't understand what that. Like, do you think it's like a literal?
We all thought like, oh, we did it. We fixed it. We did it.
Yeah, I remember hearing that and going, that is
crazy.
So weird.
It's insane, but that's what we thought.
Yeah. Oh no, and then more racism happened.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
the most
My
racism.
God, yeah.
Fucking just
I remember how Obama got blamed for all the police shooting. Oh man, he made racism worse.
I love when it's always like old white women that complain that Obama made the race problem happen. Before, you never heard it. You never heard anything, and then he gets in power, and all of a sudden it's in my face. You're absolutely right, lady.
I thought racism ended after the "I Have a Dream" speech, like right after. As soon as he did that speech,
you didn't hear about racism until Obama got in power. He gave them confidence. He riled them up. That's what she wants to say. She doesn't go that far.
No,
she made them think they could say stuff. Before they used to know their place. Oh, they would hold their lanterns and wear their jockey outfit and just sit in front of your house and they didn't say shit. That's post-racial America right there. Fucking yeah. I guess the best we have in this is to die.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Damn. I mean,
that's what we have.
I'm trying to tell myself leave something behind, but yeah, no, definitely.
I mean, I'll be fine. Like you guys do but like, I'm fine.
Dude, you're gonna be. I work at a butcher, but remember when we fucking discovered polio?